feel like we should be drinking screwdrivers.
Who calls me from out of the pit?
Welcome to the Return of the Son of the Show. I'm Paul.
I'm Mark.
And tonight we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing like a precursor for things to come.
Test ground.
So yeah, we're testing out an idea. Down the line, we're going to do, we can get as many of us together as possible. We're going to do a ranking of Tarantino movies. And Mark hadn't seen Jackie Brown in a while, and it's been a hot minute for me too. So we thought, well, we'll watch Jackie Brown, talk about it with you guys, and that way, when it comes time for the big group, we'll let them talk for a little while.
Right.
Pamela Greer is
Jackie Brown.
So tonight we're going to be taking a look at Quentin Tarantino's what number movie?
You had to bring that up. Yeah,
I got it.
I got it. Let's go look. I think it's number 3.
All right.
Number 3. So really,
I'll tell you what, I was flabbergasted when they were talking about his 9th movie, and I'm like, 9? Wait, what? And I counted them down, and I'm like, man, it just seems like he's made a whole heck of a lot more movies, but he really hasn't.
He's produced a lot.
Yeah.
He's been associated with a lot. But
Right. So, you want to tell the folks at home?
I'm not sure I can do a plot summary of Jackie Brown. And let me just.
I'm curious what does the box say? Because
that's all right. Let's read the box.
Let's not. Yeah.
Pam Grier, Samuel L. Jackson, Robert Forster, Robert De Niro, Michael Keaton, and Bridget Fonda set out on a danger-filled trail of $500,000 in cash in this critically acclaimed movie that boasts an explosive mix of intense action and edgy humor. That's not helpful.
That really doesn't say anything about what the movie's really about.
Oh, this is better. When flight attendant Jackie Brown, played by Pam Grier,
National treasure,
is busted smuggling money for her arms dealer boss, Ordell Robbie, played by Samuel L. Jackson, Agent Ray Nicolette, played by Michael Keaton, and Detective Mark Dargis, played by Michael Bowen,
whose face just looks like a fist with a mustache.
Yes. Want her help to bring down Robbie. Facing jail time for her silence or death for her cooperation, Brown decides instead to double-cross both parties and make off with the smuggled money. Meanwhile, she enlists the help of bondsman Max Cherry, played by Robert Forster.
Yep.
A man who loves her, is what the overview says.
I mean, it's obvious.
And it's obvious he does, yes. And then we throw in Bridget Fonda and Robert De Niro in supporting roles.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of people in this movie.
There is.
A lot of big people, even people who were big in the 90s when this came out.
Well, I'm sure after the success of Pulp Fiction, they all were chomping at the bit to work with Tarantino.
Everybody,
He was the new director du jour. Yep. So, Jackie Brown.
Not going to rank it.
Nope.
But we'll talk about it. We'll leave that for the suspense of the show. Yeah. I love Jackie Brown. We saw it in the theaters.
Yeah, we did.
To me, this movie shows 2 things. One, Pam Grier is a hell of an actress. I think she fucking eats this movie. Mm-hmm. And now she's made a ton of movies, and she's been in a lot of small movies, but she's never treated them like they were small movies. Like, I'm a big fan of the Corman years, like the Big Dollhouse and all the Girls in Cages movies. And she puts in 110% in those movies, even for what they are. And she kind of disappears in a way for a long time after after the 70s and early 80s. Pops up in Mars Attacks. I don't know if that was before this or after this.
Yeah.
But this movie, she shines in it, and it's a crying shame she hasn't made more movies
No.
since this. And it also spotlights one of my all-time favorite actors, Robert Forster. I think Robert Forster is another one of those guys who, like, should have done more. He's unfortunately gone now,
Yeah.
but he should have made more movies. He's in, it's no secret Magnum PI is my favorite
Sure.
TV show of all time, and he's in my favorite episode of all time.
Mm.
And I've been a fan of his since All for One back in the early '80s. And he's so good because he like he holds back a lot.
Yeah.
You can kind of so
He's
does De
reserved.
Niro.
He's
De
reserved.
Niro holds back, but not quite as well.
Yeah, De Niro's out a little bit towards the end.
Yeah.
But I appreciate him playing against type
Yeah,
through 3/4 of the movie.
yeah. Because full disclosure, I'm not a fan. I told you that while we were watching
Yeah.
the show. I'm not a fan of De Niro. I love him in Goodfellas because it's Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Deer Hunter is great because he just reacts in that movie. But I'm not really a fan. But he's hilarious in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and not on purpose,
Right, yeah,
or maybe on purpose, but like not like overtly.
I mean, he could do comedy, that's for sure. But he definitely plays against type.
Yeah.
In this movie for sure.
Yeah.
And you're waiting for sort of smart criminal De Niro to come out, and he's far from being smart criminal De Niro.
Yeah, he's not.
Which I think is funny, which is kind of,
He starts out, it gives you the impression.
Yeah.
By the way, there'll probably be spoilers for this 20-odd-year-old movie. He starts out being cool and collected,
Mhm.
but after a while, you understand why he did short time after a bank robbery.
Right. I don't know why Jackie Brown doesn't stick with me. I've seen it. I saw it in the theater with you.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've seen it at least once, and one more time after that. It's a great movie. Don't get me. I think it's a fantastic movie. There's
Mhm.
nothing. I think it doesn't. It maybe it's the fact that it's what's the word I'm looking for? Lighter on the Tarantino touches than his other movies.
Well, I mean, there's enough feet in it.
Well, that in my head I was just thinking not the feet part, but he definitely
Has to be said.
has to be said. But no, I think it's just different, and so I think I don't know, but I don't know why it hasn't stuck with me. It should stick with me because it's a great movie. I mean, and Pam Grier definitely. I mean, she is not only from a plot perspective the star of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but she just in every scene she steals it.
Yeah.
I mean, when she is even down to the part at the end where she's sitting there pulling out the gun, practicing.
Yeah. And with her practicing like that, even she knows this isn't going to work.
Yeah, yeah. Just the casual way she lights a cigarette, the way she carries herself.
Mm-hmm.
She's so prepossessed in the beginning of the movie. She's just walking as a stewardess. You don't realize what she's carrying on her. And she does. They imitate the same scene later when she's carrying the money, and she's cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
And so, so she's as dangerous as Roby, as dangerous as anybody else in the movie. She just carries it well.
Yeah, because when Samuel Jackson takes her out on the balcony, and the scene in the dark with the pistol, like she doesn't take shit from him.
No,
and it's the only time that Jackson's character tracks around her.
Absolutely,
because
he surrounds himself with women he can manipulate.
Yep.
Maybe who irritate him, but who he puts up with because he has all of his little crash places.
Because when Bridget Fonda is telling De Niro about who he really is, and she's figured him out,
right?
And when you see him reacting and acting with Pam Grier, it's 100%. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He he tries to be this badass, but he's really not.
No.
I mean, he's a killer, sure, but he's not a badass.
No. He's not. No, and I think he's just as afraid of prison as Beaumont in the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just as afraid. Yeah, it's almost like he sort of fell ass backwards into this gun dealing stuff. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't seem like he's doing, as De Niro says in the movie. Well, he seems to be doing okay,
yeah, yeah,
so far. So that's true. He seems to be doing okay
yeah,
for him,
yeah.
and so
And something else I noticed about him as we're getting off in tangents and stuff. Early on, when he's talking to De Niro about who wants what guns,
mhm.
and he brings up that the punks want the 45 because of the killers, and they want the 245s, but the 9mm is just a good gun, and so but they want, and they're amateurs and they're kids. What does he have at the end of the movie? He's carrying 45.
You're right.
He's
Right.
he's not who
Yeah.
he pretends to
No.
be.
No. No.
That was on purpose because he was carrying a different pistol all the way through the rest of the movie.
Mhm.
Because the one that Pam Grier pulls out off of him, is just like a little bitty. I don't know what it is, but it wasn't no 45.
No. No. Certainly was. No, I think part of the other, and I don't want to skip to the ending, but I think
Mm.
the other reason the movie, about three-quarters of the way through the movie, I'm like, aha, I remember the ending now.
Mhm.
And I think the ending bugs me, but I'm going to save that to talk about when we get to the ending.
Okay.
So the ending bugs me. I think the ending has always bothered me.
Well, the
So
ending annoys the piss out of me,
yeah,
but
we'll
to
get
that.
to that. Yeah. So I think that's another reason why it just doesn't. It's one of those movies like there's nothing you can do about it. It's over and done with. There's not going to be a sequel, and so it's just one of those things where like, I just got to flush that. So
Hmm.
maybe that's why it hasn't stuck with me. But I mean, I think it's also even tonight and in my old age, you need a notepad to keep track of the plot. and
Yeah.
and then you start, I know part of it, I got lost in, like, so there's so many double crosses of double crosses and plans behind plans.
Hmm.
You start looking at everything as a double cross
Yeah.
and a plan
Yeah.
behind a plan,
And you're supposed
and
to,
you're
though.
supposed to, yeah, you're supposed to. So it's like, is so when he says that Simone ran off with the 10 grand, at first I'm like, is he lying, is he
Yeah.
bullshitting? And nope, she actually did.
Yep.
So like parts of it we had to verify later, like what is true and what isn't, who's playing whom. um, I even think, Pam Grier has to say that in the end. I didn't play you, I
Yeah.
didn't, and he knows he didn't get played.
Yeah.
And so, but you're kind of wondering who, is she playing everybody? Because she's certainly manipulating just about everybody else in the movie up to that point. So
Hmm.
is she manipulating Robert Forster too? But yeah, I think restrained's a good word for this movie. Everything is very restrained. So like to me, it's Robert Forster is a restrained man. De Niro is kind of restrained. Like in the beginning, he's like feeling his way out. Like this,
Yeah.
what is this situation I'm in?
Yeah.
I just got out of jail, so he's being very careful.
Hmm.
Pam Grier is careful. Everyone's careful, and so that, I think that's kind of interesting. It's like a big chess game
Hmm.
going on. And the only one who's not careful, of course, is Beaumont. And
Yeah.
so
Well, Beaumont and Bridget Fonda.
yeah, and Bridget Fonda is not careful. No, no. So, and and speaking of Bridget Fonda, again, what a great actress she is. She
Yeah.
really pulls off. After, I think before this, the last thing you would have seen her in, I don't know if Single White Female came in between this
I think it
and
was prior to this.
yeah, and but yeah, so I mean, she's a really great actress in
Yeah.
this. I mean, she pulls off being the annoying surfer girl
Yeah.
really well, and
Yeah.
so
And like I told you when we were watching it, when they first introduce her, what she does to De Niro's drink, I would have done to her what De Niro did to her later at the end. Right there. Right there.
see, when I see that scene, okay. Here's all right. We're gonna have a little tangent here.
Okay.
That scene, all I can think of is when I went to Purdue, and this was the first weekend we were there at West Lafayette, and
Mhm.
we went to Pizza Hut when Pizza Hut was Pizza Hut.
Mm.
And my roommate's dad was with us, and so he was buying us pizzas. And then the waitress
Oh, I know the story.
asked if he wanted iced tea. And she's like, "Well, do you want sweet iced tea?" He's like, "Why don't you just put your finger in it and stir? Sweet iced tea." And my roommate and I wanted to kill him because she looked like disgusted, embarrassed, all, and as were we as well. So all I could think of was when she's dipping that toe, is I'm like, "You want to make this drink sweeter for you?" In addition to everyone being reserved,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting that everyone's relationships, at least among the criminals, is all lies. Everything is
Mm-hmm.
they all think they have each other's number, but do they really? So
Yeah.
Bridget Fonda thinks she knows, Roby. Roby thinks he knows her and can control her.
Yeah.
She thinks he can control, De Niro seems to just be, he bailed him out to help, got him there to, so I mean, so Roby's kind of loyal in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
but only so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like, I'm wondering as I'm watching the movie, like, so why is Pam Grier alone? Like, so like these people don't have any kind of relationships. There's no, you don't
Yeah.
see any pictures of kids or marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Forster's character clearly appears to be,
Yeah. Well, because I think it's the lifestyle. I
yeah,
also think that Pam Grier's her character establishes that when she tells Forrester that she always feels like she's starting over.
yeah, yeah,
So to her, it makes sense.
right,
She would have nobody really
yeah,
because she's starting over again.
every
Which,
time, yeah,
yeah, as
with
far
the
as the
mistakes
rest
she
of them,
makes in her life,
I
yeah,
think it's just the lonely life of
yeah,
the lonely life of the criminal, and the guy who supposedly has the most women is still alone
yes,
because
absolutely,
Beaumont's got women all over town that he
right.
uses. He's still alone. In
You mean
fact,
Roby?
one of them,
You mean Roby?
Roby,
Yeah,
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 one
yeah.
of them robs him. So,
Yes, yeah, that which is great. I love Simone. Simone is such an odd character
yeah.
in this movie.
Well, Simone is Simone is the thing that starts the perfectly laid plan to go wrong.
Yes,
You always got to have that in
yeah,
these kind of
yeah,
switcheroos and stuff.
hmm,
There's always got to be that wild card that basically sets everything off. And
yeah.
Simone just stealing the money.
Stealing the money, which I really thought was a lie. I thought he made that up, but
Yeah.
nope, she really did.
Mm,
So yeah, proving that Roby has no control over anybody.
yeah.
And even the what's her name, the other girl he's got, I mean, she's just cracked out. She's just cracked out. Which interesting seeing that actress play a cracked out,
Oh yeah.
because she's such a stand up
Yeah.
lawyer in the practice, with a heart of gold, and with, she's fighting the good fight, and so it's weird to see her as a cracked in
Yeah.
big woman. Um, so
Country is a chicken coop, I think is what he.
yeah, so odd. Very really tension filled. Like I having forgotten some of the plot.
Hmm.
Um, it really was tension filled towards the end. I mean, I
Yeah.
was really not, because I couldn't remember how it ended,
Hmm.
and so I'm like, "What's going to go ahead? What is she doing? What is she? What's she going to do?" And the switcheroo at the end, where she pulls off the cops killing Roby for her,
Yeah.
is great. I mean,
Hmm.
that's just a great. She had everything planned out to the last detail, and then had to keep track of all the plans she was telling other people.
Yeah.
So she had this plan here, this plan here, this plan there. And to keep all that straight, I think she's really the criminal mastermind
Yeah.
in the movie. Um, and so luckily she gets her reward for that. But
Yeah.
um,
Well, and the beauty of this movie too is like this movie came out when yeah, we had video stores and stuff. So like if you saw it and you were confused, and it is confusing. I mean, unless you're like
right.
like Nick,
Yeah.
I guarantee he's never confused about anything.
Yeah. Right.
But
Yeah, exactly.
it's one of his superpowers. Anyway, so if you're confused about like what happened, what was the deal, like with when Simone takes off with the money, for
Yeah.
instance, like you'll like the movie just enough that you'll go back to the theater, or when because it was like $5,
Hmm.
or you'll wait till rental and you'll rent it a couple of times, and
When you figure it out. Yeah.
that's the beauty of a movie like this is
Right.
that it continues to make. I don't know how it did box office wise, but it continues to make money off of you
Yeah.
as you're trying to figure out the ending.
Right. My guess is it was a shock at the time, because I mean, coming off Pulp Fiction,
Hmm.
people are gonna, because this has a somewhat straightforward narrative.
Yeah.
except for the repeated
Yeah, at the
scene
ending,
in
it
the
kind
exchange,
of
the money exchange,
yeah.
the switcheroo
The third act
is all over the place.
yeah,
Yeah, but for the most part, this is much more straightforward than Pulp Fiction was, and I think, um, I mean, we laughed a lot, but it's not like in your face
yeah,
funny
yeah,
like Pulp Fiction was.
yeah. Like Forrester's partner.
Yeah,
How did he find him? It's what he
that's
does.
what he does.
He
Yeah,
finds people that
correct,
can't be
correct,
found.
correct.
You know.
Yeah, I mean the dialogue. I mean, clearly had Tarantino's amped up dialogue.
Hmm.
I know the story is close to the Elmore Leonard novel,
Hmm.
minus the ending, and but my guess is that a lot of the dialogue is Tarantino's. I would think
You're
he
right.
punched it. He rum punched it up.
I see what you did there. Well, and the thing about the thing about this guy Tarantino when he makes his movies is, especially after Pulp Fiction, where he could write his own checks.
Yeah,
Like, I'm pretty sure he has people in mind when he writes the characters,
hmm,
and that's one of the things they tell you to do. Like, if you're going to write a spec script, for instance,
yeah,
like take your main character. Who do you want? Who would you want as your main character? And then you write that character as that actor or actress. And it's a good way for the people reading your script to see it and
yeah,
visualize it and try to maybe get that person or whoever. Well, I think he definitely, after working with Samuel Jackson in Pulp Fiction, he definitely wrote, um, his,
yeah,
yeah, he wrote him to be Samuel Jackson
yeah.
and playing to Jackson's strengths.
Yeah. Well, and I also know I did look this up. He did write it for Pam Grier in mind. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah,
he had her in mind. In fact,
yeah.
when he called her in to his office to interview for the movie,
Hmm.
um, he had a bunch of her posters on the wall
Oh,
from all of her movies,
yeah.
and he had to explain to her that he almost took them down because he didn't want her to think
Yeah.
he was like fanboying or faking.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I love you that I
Yeah.
love your movies and you're acting that much that I
Yeah.
put you in this. And so I think he wanted to do for her what he had done for Travolta in Pulp Fiction, revitalize her career,
Yeah.
and it just didn't
For whatever
for
reason.
whatever reason. Why people didn't knock on her door to have her play
I mean, they might
any
have,
number of
and she may
characters?
have just decided
Yeah,
this isn't what I want to do.
yeah,
I don't
I
know.
have
She
no
had the
idea.
golden opportunity, I
Yeah,
thought. And yeah, honestly, watch any of her movies.
yeah,
Like watch like Foxy Brown. Watch the the Girls in Cages movies.
yeah,
They're objectively, I wouldn't call it Foxy Brown bad, but they're objectively bad. But she puts everything into these
hmm,
movies, and it shows. Her and Sid Haig, they worked a lot together,
oh
and
yeah,
it was
okay,
fun watching him as the judge in this movie.
yeah,
But yeah, she's a hell of an actress, and
hmm,
it's a shame she doesn't do more. So Pam, if you're watching,
yeah. Do more. Yeah.
yeah,
I also think Michael Keaton did a great job.
yeah,
He's so young in this.
yeah. We were you were remarking about that, and I'm
Yeah,
like, well, this was 30 years
30
ago.
years ago. Yeah.
We were all younger.
He just has like the I commented on it while watching the movie, and there's a mall scene, and he just has the cop walk down.
Yeah,
Like anyone in that any kid stealing something in that mall would, oh no, wait a minute, there were
yeah,
two cops there. There was no, it was clear they were cops.
yeah.
I mean he's ATF, but still law enforcement, and he really had the. I guess that character also appeared in another Leonard adaptation. Out of time or out of something, and so Tarantino allowed they kind of set it up where Tarantino like leased him as in that same character. That same character
Oh,
is in
really?
that, yeah.
Okay.
So I guess he didn't charge. He told Universal wanted to borrow him,
Hmm.
and so they didn't charge them to do it just because the movies were kind of coming out at the same time.
Mm.
And so
I don't know that I ever saw that one.
I don't remember it either. So, but I mean, Michael Keaton's just a treasure. I mean,
Yeah,
just and shows that here just kind of playing two cops or two law enforcement officers that fall for the whole
yeah,
story. I mean, they fall for it hook, line, and
yeah.
sinker, and play right into her hands. And so I
Hmm.
think that's great too.
Well, one of the things about this movie is you can't talk about a Tarantino movie without talking about the soundtrack.
Yes.
Now, this is one of my favorite soundtracks out of all of his movies. And one of the reasons it works so well for me is this movie, to me, okay, everybody says that, like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was like his love letter to that era of Hollywood.
Mhm.
This movie is a love letter to, for lack of a better term, the black exploitation movies of the 70s.
Yeah.
And specifically, I think it's a love letter to Superfly.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of people don't understand just what a good movie Superfly is. Superfly is a movie about a guy who's in the life and he's trying to get out of the life, and he's playing all kinds of different angles, and everyone thinks they've got his number, you know. So and just like Jackie Brown, everybody thinks they got her number.
Yeah.
Everybody's underestimating her, and then there's a flip at the end of it, and just like in Superfly, there's a great flip at the end of that movie.
Which is so it's interesting you bring up the soundtrack because I was going to bring this up later.
Mhm.
Her theme song, it's Across 110th Street by Bobby Womack.
That I think you're talking
No.
about Long Time Woman.
No, 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 no,
Long Time
no.
Woman is
Oh,
that's
no.
her singing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but Across 110th Street,
Yeah.
she's singing at the end of the movie, and it starts the movie when she's walking.
Yeah.
Doing whatever I had to survive. I'm not saying what I did was all right. Trying to break out of the ghetto was a day-to-day fight. I mean, that's her whole
Yeah.
MO in this movie. Is
Yeah.
getting out
Yeah.
of the life.
If you can't figure it all out by the end, her singing it in the
Yeah.
car as she's leaving sums it all up.
Robert Forster. I want to talk about him too. At first, I thought he was cut from the same cloth as, let's say, Williford's Hoke Mosley.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but he's not.
No.
He's not Hoke. Hoke Mosley is. You know what? If you want us to review Miami Blues, the movie, we'll gladly do so. It's probably it's in my DNA.
Yeah, it's in my top 10.
Yeah, and
It's one of those movies we saw in the theaters so
by
many
ourselves.
times.
We were the
Yeah.
only two people in it. It's like he has this well-organized little world that he lives in that he's
Mhm.
perfectly fine with. He
Mhm.
has a good friend, a coworker. He's got his life. He goes to the movies. It doesn't bother him that he's seeing a movie by himself. He's clearly got this well-organized little life. And then in walks that scene where he picks her up at the jail.
Yeah.
And she's just a hot mess.
Yeah, yeah.
But they coded it like she's walking down the red carpet.
Yeah.
And his eye, the look in his face, like the change,
Yeah.
the joy,
Yep.
that she brings, and he just doesn't. I mean, he's hit by a lightning bolt by
Yeah.
her. And I love that part of the movie. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
And that's watching him, and then it's just, God, it reminds me of like dumb things you do in your 20s. He finds out, the name of the music that she's playing
Yep.
at the apartment, and he goes to the store and buys a cassette of it
Yep.
to just know it. So to listen to it.
Yep.
And it's like he's a little kid in some ways, like a teenager.
Mhm.
And I love that about the character. And he's just so smitten. That's the word. He's smitten. He's totally smitten by her.
To be fair.
Pamela Greer is
Jackie Brown.
I think I've talked in my head while we've been doing this. I've been explaining the ending to myself, but it just drives me crazy they don't run off together.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's too perfect of an ending. It's a rom-com ending, and can you do a rom-com ending in a crime movie? I mean,
I have thought about this ending for decades.
Yeah.
Because this ending bothers me so much.
Yeah.
I've justified it in some ways. I've justified it like, well, if they would have ran off to Spain together, they would have been on a radar.
Yes, that's my first excuse.
But that didn't get said at all.
No.
The only thing I can figure is he's not quite he made the story about wanting to retire.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't want to. And so he's got this life, and he likes it too much to change it, and
Right.
that's why he lets her go, and that's why he's can you call me back in half an hour? And then he just walks into the back room and he's like,
Yeah.
fuck,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. I mean,
And I think he's afraid of her and the life and the power she has over him because I mean, I love the scene where she goes, "Are you afraid of me?" He's like, "A
yeah.
little bit."
Well, that's just it. He figures out through the course of the movie that she isn't the damsel in distress,
No,
and she, he does.
she's probably the most dangerous person in the room.
Yep.
And I think that he's not ready for that. He's not ready to take that risk
Yeah.
or lead that life. But I think, yeah, I think the more, and I'm sure and I think he regret, and Tarantino leaves it open. You can tell he regrets it the minute. Like I almost think he almost turns around to change his mind, and she's already out the door and gone.
Hmm.
And that's why he's pulling his hair at the end. And
Yeah.
so you wonder if he leaves it ambiguous. Like,
Yeah.
could he call her, find her? He's got a guy that knows how to find people,
Yeah. Yeah.
so he could at any point find her. And will she really write him a postcard?
No,
I don't know. She won't.
it's like the scene in MASH at the end.
Right, right.
Yeah, they're never going to see each other.
But I think
again.
I think you're right. The logical explanation is the only way that their story will stick to the ATF is if he lets her go.
Mhm. But because it wasn't discussed,
Yeah,
like a little bit of dialogue saying that.
yeah. But maybe not. Maybe that's left out on purpose. I don't like it. Like, um, she knows it. He knows it. She is an expert at planning. She's got to realize if I take him with me and it's well known that he ran off with me, they're going to
Mhm.
start looking for that 500,000.
Yep.
And so she picks her freedom. I think even though she wants him,
Yeah.
and she does, I mean, she's crying, practically crying, and then singing.
Yeah.
But the only way for her to get out clean is for her to leave without it,
Mhm.
and the only way for him to let her get out clean is for him to let him go. It's like they can't be together.
Yeah. They're trapped in their own scheme.
Yes, and they kiss and they taste what it could be like, and they know what it could be like, but the scheme won't work if they don't do that.
Yeah. Of course, Forrester's like, can we take that again?
Correct. Yes.
I don't think we
I
did
got
that right.
No, no.
All right. Well, let us know what you thought. Did you see Jackie Brown? What'd you think? Are we wrong about the ending?
Is there a better theory about the ending?
Yeah, some way to some leave us a comment that kind of is like a hug because
Right.
man, you just feel so bad for Forrester at the
I
end of this
do,
movie.
and her too.
Yeah,
I mean, the look on her face as she leaves,
Yep.
I feel so bad for both of them
Yep.
at the end.
And just like in the beginning, I'm Paul,
I'm Mark,
and this has been the return of the son of the show.
Tuesday edition.
That's Tibor's dad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dirty old man.